Hey, I'm Reverend Greg Dorst, and you have made it to Open at the Top, and so have I. What a pleasure to be here with you guys. This is our regular Wednesday service. We have named it Open at the Top because we want to make sure that what we do is we completely open ourselves to the good that is ours. And we open ourselves to receive it by doing this, just a little hand gesture above us so that we know that all the good that is due us, all the good that is ours, that is our birthright, is funneled right on down to us. And we're open at the top so that we can receive it. Yeah, this is a Wednesday service that has also had little taglines. We were live at the lake, but we're not at the lake right now. So what we taglined it now is live your best life. And you know, it's really wild because that's up to us to live our best life. But sometimes we need a little nudge now and then. Sometimes we need just a little bit of time to sit in the silence and figure out what that is, or talk to some people that might have a great idea for you. And for all of that, you have to be open at the top, either for the intuition coming from spirit, from your source, or just the wisdom coming from the friend or the relative or your spiritual advisor that you might have been tapping for some ideas and information. So we are in Chino Hills, and Chino Hills has been the subject of a lot of news stories recently. You know, Chino Hills has been, a lot of Chino Hills was evacuated, and we were very close to being evacuated. We were kind of next in line to be evacuated. This is how this whole thing happened. We were watching television, and it's because we noticed a little bit of smoke, so we turned on the TV, and we noticed that there was a fire that had just started along the 91 freeway, which is, you know, actually sort of like Corona. I mean, it's 91 freeway and Green River is kind of Corona on your way to Yorba Linda if you're traveling westbound on the 91 freeway. The 91 freeway is bordered by the Santa Ana River right there, and the river water is released from Prado Dam, which travels along the river, which is just below the mountainside of the south edge of Chino Hills State Park. So we actually saw on this news show the first flames. They had a helicopter out there, and you could see where the fire started. It started right next to the golf course, which is the Green River Golf Course. And it sort of split in two directions. One direction was toward Yorba Linda along the river, along the grassy area along the river. And the other area that it split off on was the Chino Hills State Park. And it started going up a canyon that I'm really, really familiar with because I hike it and bike it all the time. And that canyon is Lower Aliso. It's called Lower Aliso Canyon. And so I saw that they were kind of scrambling, fire department was scrambling, and emergency services were scrambling to try and begin to put the fire out. And the fire that they were concentrating on was the one headed toward Yorba Linda. And I can understand that because you could actually see the houses in the distance. It wasn't far away. And you know, you knew that with the wind blowing from the east, it was just going to push those flames up against the house really quickly. So they started working on that. But my eye was also on that other fire that started heading up Lower Aliso Canyon, because I knew that once it got inside that canyon, they weren't going to be able to stop it. You know, I'm really familiar with the roads up there. I'm really familiar with the vegetation and the trees and all of the wildlife in that area. And I knew it would be a tough stop. I knew once it got up into those hills along the canyon itself and on the floor of that canyon, that it was just going to head straight on up to Chino Hills, because from the south end, which is in Corona, to the north end, which is in Chino Hills, it's about 10 miles, maybe 9 miles. So I was concerned, you know, and it's interesting the way the fire progressed. You know, they put out the one as best they could over in Yorba Linda, and then I think they just decided to wait until it became a problem here in Chino Hills before they started defending the houses. And they did a great job of defending the houses, no doubt about it. But the park itself burned. 15,000 acres in the park area and along the park in the Yorba Linda area and the Chino Hills area burned. And that park is about 15,000 acres in total. And it has some amazing wildlife in it. I mean, when I'm back in that park, I get to see deer. There are deer back there. I mean, I have ridden my bicycle on trails where I've scared deer, and they take off running. I've seen coyotes and snakes and small rodents and eagles, along with osprey and falcons and red-tailed hawks. I mean, it is just filled with life. It is completely teeming with it. And as that fire started to consume Chino Hills State Park, I got very concerned, because I knew not only that Chino Hills was going to be in trouble, but all of the wildlife in there was at risk. And it just broke my heart to know that those beautiful animals that had made such a peaceful home were being disturbed by this horrible fire. So, it made me think of this prayer, this meta prayer that I played last week and talked about last week. And I think I actually read it first before I played it, but it starts out like this. It goes, "May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings awaken to the light of our true nature. May all beings be free." And I started to think that applies to animals too, because they are beings. They're little amazing godlings. They are expressions of this singular source that we call God, that we call spirit. And so I have had that swimming around in my head, and I kind of like the melody that I put to it anyway. And so I grabbed a different guitar this time, and I've got my Garrido, which has a history to it. It's a classical guitar, and it was given to me by a really good friend of mine who was in Spain when he bought it. He used to work for Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and we used to play guitars together in college. And so when he was in Spain, he picked it up and dragged it all over Europe for me. So I'm really attached to this guitar. That was back in 1981, and it's still a beautiful little guitar. It's called a Garrido. May all beings be peaceful, may all beings be happy, may all beings be safe, may all beings awaken to the light of our true nature. May all beings be peaceful, may all beings be happy, may all beings be safe, may all beings awaken to the light of our true nature. May all beings be free. 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 And that's for the animals, and for a consciousness of peace and happiness and well-being for all of us.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, there it is. So I put my Garrido down for now, and I am going to set a tone. Okay, this is another little instrument. This is a gong. It's a brass gong, and I'm going to ding it and spend just a moment taking in a breath and releasing that breath. And what we're going to try and do is affect our vagus nerve, which means that we're going to have to take in a breath for about 6 seconds, and then we're going to blow it out for about 8 seconds. And what happens is, when you do that, you relax the vagus nerve, which is really tied to anxiety. And so if you're feeling any anxiety at all around anything, this is a great exercise to do. So 6 seconds in, 8 seconds out, breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. And it's a great way to get not only centered, but to just relax and allow the goodness of life to take over rather than any issues that you might have with what's going on in the present moment. So release that anxiety. Let's do it now. So let's take our first breath in through the nose. In through the nose, 6 seconds. And as you exhale, completely empty your lungs. Again. And one last time. Well, you should be relaxed. Should be really relaxed right now. And your vagus nerve should be relaxed too, so you just let all the cares go and you just enjoy yourself in this moment, in this now moment. So I got a question I want to ask you, and I want you to be able to answer it right here on the chat line there. I mean, if you have something that you want to say to answer this question, I would love for you to be able to do it. So this question is, what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for? And just type it right on in there. Type in what you're grateful for. You know, this goes right along with releasing anxiety, because when you find yourself in gratitude and you start thinking about the things that you are grateful for, you start to release anything else that's in your mind. I mean, gratitude kind of overtakes everything else that might be in your mind. So that feeling of gratitude is the feeling of love, or maybe compassion, or maybe peace. That feeling of gratitude, you know, maybe the happiness you're looking for.
Bobby says his family.
Oh, fantastic.
Martha Moore says, I'm grateful for my life. Daisy being alive.
I hope you guys can hear Jackie over there. Jackie, by the way.
Can you guys hear me?
Jackie, by the way, is the producer. And so she is on another device and taking a look at what you guys are writing. And I'm so pleased, I'm so happy that you are grateful for these magnificent things in your life. And they are in your life. Are you grateful for the way that you show up in the world? Are you grateful for the way that you give to others, that you share and express caring and compassion for other people? Now, I happen to know a lot of people on this service, and I think that you guys are incredibly compassionate. And, you know, I think that the grace of God is the ability to love. I think when we live in grace, what we do is living with that ability to love. That's an amazing process that happens with us. That is, that we're given the ability to love. And I think that's the grace of God, because God is love. You know, God, the presence of God is the presence of love. And so I think that we've been given the grace of God.
And Wendy Scrupa says, my breath. And Peggy says, a full and interesting life. Love in my life, comfort and abundance.
Oh, I love that.
Can you guys hear me?
Love in my
Peggy,
life, comfort and abundance. My breath, says Wendy. So I want you to answer this one too. What brings you joy? What brings you joy? What brings you joy, Jackie?
You.
Oh, I didn't even expect that, you know. It's me. I figured she'd say something like Harley, who is,
Yeah.
by the way, right here doing his usual IT duties. I think his eyes are closed by now, too. My voice seems to lull him to sleep, or maybe it was the deep breathing that he engaged in, you know. His vagus nerve is so relaxed. He's right there in that space. So I'd love to see your answers to those things, you know, because, you know, those are things that we may be able to focus on a little bit more. You know, those are things we may be able to give ourselves to, especially now, considering the fact that there are some things going on in the world that may require us to take a look at how we're operating out there, you know, and so, you know, we keep hearing that there's another spike, COVID spike, and perhaps there is, and perhaps we'll see it here in California. And in any event, what we do is we make absolutely certain that we are considerate of others, and whatever that looks. I mean, whether you stay home or you put on a mask when you go out in public, or you know, you socially distance, you find yourself 6 feet away from others. You just make sure that you are compassionate and you have regard for other people's circumstances.
Okay, you want your answers now?
Sure, I want some answers.
So Peggy said, you should have seen that coming, Greg. And Daisy says life. Martha says my family and my spiritual family. Wendy says love. And Peggy says my grandkids bring me joy. And a quick second place are my dogs.
Oh, yeah, you know, those are little bundles of love. And little bundles of love really, really bring you joy. Now, what brings me joy is music. I really appreciate music. I like to listen to it. I like to listen to Jackie's new passion, which is her Melissa Etheridge concerts. Every day at 3 o'clock, she listens to a Melissa Etheridge concert, and it's really fun. And I have this Bluetooth Spark, which is a guitar amplifier. And while she's listening to it on that, which it really amplifies the sound, I get to plug into it and I can actually play with her. So it's kind of fun. You know, we both get to do the concert and enjoy ourselves. And so, you know, she's a lot better than I am, and so are a ton of other people. I mean, I'm not very good, but at least I get to dink around, you know, and it just gives me joy to get that rock band feel, you know what I mean? And so I'm looking for balance. You know, I'm looking for balance in my life, and the balance for me seems to come more fully when I focus on my values, when I focus on the things that I really value in life. You know, focus on those principles that bring me, you know, all the goodness of life. You know, you find a lot of those principles in our teaching, and the science of mind draws its principles, you know, from various religious ideology. But there are a lot of Christian principles in there that I particularly enjoy, and those are the kinds of principles that I really like to model, you know, right now. You know, the giving nature, the service to others, the recognition that there is work that needs to be done for the health of others, that they must be clothed and fed and housed, and that we look to the least of us, because what we do for the least of us is exactly what we do for him. It's what it says in the Bible. And so, in fact, those were his exact words. How you treat the least of us is the way you treat me. And I love that, because that's really sort of a slight derivation from the golden rule, which is, you know, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So I think it's a beautiful thing to live in your values if you can. It truly is wonderful. But we also note that there are some things going on in the world that are operating from a different set of values. Now, I have been really interested in mythology lately, and Greek mythology has been kind of fun for me. So, you know, I've also been interested in certain ideas around how in this very moment, what we need is the consciousness of women to bring us all together, to draw us together. We need the helping consciousness, the hand of love, that friendly reaching out of the healing hands that so often come from, the feminine. And I think the divine feminine is in all, but I believe that the feminine that we see on earth right here draws to it some amazing values that are helpful in today's time. And women have always gotten a bad rap, I mean, seriously, right there in Genesis, it started off in a really bad way, I mean, everybody blamed Eve for getting kicked out of the garden, I mean, it's a bad way to start, if you're a woman, and I don't like that. I don't at all. I think that if women had had a hand in writing the consciousness and the history as fully as men did, then this would be a totally different history. It would be a totally different world. It would be a totally different place to be. So and there's another person in Greek mythology that kind of got a bad rap too, and we talk about it a little bit, particularly during this pandemic. And I thought about her because of the word pandemic. You see, a lot of the ills of society have been blamed on Pandora. Pandora and her box, Pandora's box. That's Greek mythology. Pandora was in Greek mythology the first woman on earth. In fact, her name means one who bears all gifts. And when the gods created her, they gave her everything that she needed in order to be the most fabulous creature on the face of the earth. And Aphrodite gave her tips on femininity, and Athena taught her certain crafts. And, Zeus told Hermes to give Pandora some stubbornness and some curiosity, and those are interesting traits. But as she was to be released on Earth, because there were only men, apparently, according to this myth, on Earth, she was going to be the first woman on Earth. But as she was to be released, she was given a jar, translated later on as a box. And she was told by Zeus not to open this box. You cannot open this box. So when she got down to earth, she married a man by the name of Epimetheus, who was the brother of Prometheus. And Epimetheus sort of empowered her. I mean, he was just completely and totally smitten, and she felt empowered to open up that box. And so she did. She opened up the box, and inside the box was sickness, death, all manner of misfortune and evil released into the world. And there was also something else in there. Hope was in there. She closed the box before hope could get out. But all the evils of the world were brought through this act of opening the box. Now, some telling of this over the centuries also included a lot of other good things that were in the box, a lot of other good values. So there was not only evil and pestilence and all of those horrible things, but there was also some good stuff in the box that was released. And I love that because, whatever values there are in the world, whatever's out there in the world, we have a choice. We can choose these things. But Pandora released these ills into the world, but retained hope in the box. Now, there's some interesting writings that were made about this, and a particular poet that I like, a Greek poet by the name of Theogenes of Megara, he wrote this, a poem regarding Pandora and what she had done and the result of some of the things that had happened. And interestingly enough, it sounds very much like today. He wrote, "Hope is the only good god remaining among mankind." Now, each of these ills were thought of as gods, and these gods were released from the box. So these gods had these particular methods of being in the world, and some of them carried this evil and pestilence and ill and unhealth and sickness. And so he calls them all gods. Hope is the only good god remaining among mankind. The others have left and gone to Olympus. Trust, a mighty god, has gone. Restraint has gone from men. And the graces, my friend, have abandoned the earth. Men's judicial oaths are no longer to be trusted, nor does anyone revere the immortal gods. The race of pious men has perished, and men no longer recognize the rules of conduct or acts of piety. And so all of this is blamed on Pandora, you see. And I suppose, when people talk about it today, they might mention Pandora as being responsible for our pandemic right now. I mean, in a mythological sense. You see, because myths are really interesting things. I mean, they're generally stories that actually are about something that never happened, but are always happening. So, they're the most amazing type of fiction, which, of course, didn't happen, but it truly is always happening in this world. And so myths are magnificent writings and stories and ideas, and I just love them, because this whole idea of bad behavior is rampant no matter what age you're in. It's all over the place. It's been around since the myth of Pandora was contrived. It's been around since the poems, the poem of Theogenes, of Megara. It's been around since time immemorial. All of these things have been happening again and again and again and again. It sort of reminds me of another myth, that began in Egyptian mythology, but has made its way right into the United States of America as the city of Phoenix. The myth of the phoenix, which is a bird that destroys itself, or is destroyed through fire every 500 years, it said. Every 500 years the bird was destroyed and then rises from its own ashes and becomes something brand new. And so when it's time for that to happen, it happens. And so, I think that what's happening as we move forward into this world each day is all of these mythological ideas. There's disease, we take care of it. There are problems, we see them, we do the best that we possibly can. And all that's the outside. Sorry about that, looks like we lost each other for a moment. And all of that is about the outside physical world. Now, all of that stuff happens on the inside too, in our interiors. All of that stuff happens in the interiors. Where we have to be remade. We have to be sort of risen up from our ashes, because we can be completely decimated by some of the things that go on. Some of the things that have been happening recently can cause trauma in people's lives. I mean, real trauma, the kind of trauma that keeps people up, unable to sleep, bad dreams, unable to connect with relationships or do the things that they need to do to function on a daily basis. It might cause people to pull the covers over their heads and just not get out of bed, to not relate in ways that they used to relate to their children or their grandchildren, and all the joy is gone from their lives. If you ask somebody who's suffering from trauma and is going through a traumatic episode, you may find that they can't name anything that they have gratitude for. They can't name anything that they have joy for. And so there's trauma happening to some people right now in this world. And we think of trauma as being something that happens like on the battlefield, or in a car accident, or something that has just taken your life and spun it upside down and made it very, very difficult. But trauma can happen in a lot of different ways. I mean, whenever you completely lose control over the circumstances, you feel like there's no way out. And that can happen in your living room. I mean, it can happen in a relationship. It can happen in a job. When you feel that there's no way out, that you have no control the ravages of trauma start to take root. You know, and there are ways to deal with trauma. You know, trauma-informed therapy is really important. And, you know, whenever I do counseling myself, I always look to those issues of trauma. You know, always do. And it's really, really important for people to recognize that the things that they have gone through can, in fact, affect them in ways that they really may not even be able to see. And some of that we call the shadow, which is there, but we just don't see it. It's not on the surface, you know, and you have to dig deeply in order to get into some of those issues and uncover those issues. So, yeah, you know, trauma can really affect you in other ways too. You know, when we talk about all of the things that I just talked about, on the job, relationships, you know, all of the things that you consider are joyful in your life or you have gratitude for, if you consider those to going away, I mean, talk about increasing and just, you know, really synergizing the damage. You know, because oftentimes we look at our jobs, say for instance, or our major relationships as our source and supply of what it is that God has in store for us. You know, I mean, those things are a channel. They're a channel for the things that we receive from God. I mean, so God doesn't give you a job. You know, God is a source of good and abundance and love. So the job becomes the channel for that source to work through. You know, God working through the job to bring you the abundance you need. God working through your relationships, your kids, your grandkids, those things you said you were grateful for. God working through those things, and they become a channel for you to receive the love that God is always giving. So, you know, the cause, that first cause is God. You know, God is always the source of all of this, but the channels can change. You know, if you've ever lost a job, you might have felt like you were going to starve to death and lose your house and all those other kinds of things. I mean, we have these fears that pop up. But if you've ever lost your job or your source of income, you feel like things are just going downhill. And you may never make it out of that hole. But the truth is, there are other channels to receive that good from God. The issue is finding them. I mean, the issue is being open enough to them to see them and to move toward them. And I've developed some ideas around how that can happen. You know, I mean, if you really, really want something, if you need a new channel, let's say for your good, then you must be giving. You must be of service. You must be community minded. You must move into all aspects of that new channel that you're looking for so that you can start the flow moving in your direction. You know, if you need a new source and supply for money or for the things coming in to live, you must be mindful of this channel that is giving and receiving, and you can start bringing that channel in by giving. You know, you can start giving whatever you have, which may just be, you know, your love, your peace, your wisdom, the safety and security that you can offer people in your life. You may just start by being there, you know, just by listening, just by being a part of their lives. You know, one of the most amazing people I know on this planet is Jackie. And she has the greatest connections with people. And, you know, she's always thinking about making a connection with somebody each day. And so she'll think about someone and she'll go, I need to talk to that person. I need to call them. I need to get a hold of them. I need to go see them. I need whatever it might be in order to make that connection. She just makes that determination she's going to do it. She does it. I mean, these connectors are so good, not only for her so that she can receive her good, which she does by doing these things. I mean, there's a lot of reward in that. But that channel then becomes a two-way street. She not only receives, but she gives. And they not only receive, but now they have an opportunity to give too. You know that commercial where people say, just pay it forward, you know, I mean, and you see one person doing one nice thing for somebody, and then somebody does a nice thing for somebody else and buys a coffee maybe for them in the Starbucks line, and you know, how they pay for the car behind them, you know, and all that. And, you know, that's the kind of thing that multiplies. You know, you do it, they do it, the next person does it, and it just becomes a way of caring, you know, for people you don't even know. And so when you can care for people you don't even know, then you got a chance of feeling the unity, feeling the oneness of life. You got a chance of feeling this thing called spirit in everything that you see, everything that you feel, and everybody that you know. I mean, it really makes you feel and know and understand that there is a oneness, that things that you see and feel and know and can touch are really just an aspect of God. They are the body of God made manifest. I mean, everything is an expression of God. All there is God. At one point in time, that is absolutely the truth, no matter what religion you're looking at, no matter what fundamental text you're reading, that all there was God, and God made this, and God made that, and God simply makes things out of itself. And that which is made is God in a different form. And it goes away. You know, things that are material in the world, they go away. They sink back into that sea of subjectivity, into that space where God just reforms and remakes. I mean, this is happening everywhere, from the farthest reaches of space to, you know, our planet, to the oceans. Everything that is here will not be here forever. It comes and it goes and it reforms. But see, the safety and security that you can know and feel right now is that you are that which God is. I mean, you can't be left behind. Whatever is formed and reformed is actually you. I mean, we are stardust. And there will be a part of you in everything that exists from here on out. Now, that's on a material plane. But what about on the ethereal plane? What about that space where we are something within ourselves? I mean, that's the Spirit of God. I mean, that's the mind of God. That never goes away either. That, in fact, is absolutely indestructible and immutable. And we ultimately are love. You know, I sing that song, you know, may all beings be safe. I mean, I don't know of any other way to feel safe than to know that I am, you know, as the one. I am in the one. I am filled with the one. I am the hands and feet and breath of God. So what I want to do right now is just do a little prayer to pound that in a little bit. And I'm going to use my little gong. So listen for the tone, and then we'll take a moment to take a deep breath. 6 seconds in, 8 seconds out. God is all there is. Present right here in this very space, wherever you are. Present in your space. Present in and around and through your home, where you sit. Present in and around and through you, as you. God, your feelings, your joys, those things you are grateful for. God in expression, each and every place you turn and look. God moving through you, the divine, that spark, that beauty, that love. And so I know that I'm one with that, for I am that. And I also know that I am grateful, absolutely grateful for this life, for this expression. And I find new ways every single day of expressing this joy for life, of expressing this gratitude for life. And I see the values that are important to me, and I live them. They become me. And I feel this sense of connection and peace and joy and love. And with this, I can accept all things in life, and I can surrender to the grace of God and know that love abounds through me. And so I just absolutely recognize that this is the truth of my being. For if I am that which love is, that which God is, then health is quickly following behind. If I accept this, absolutely. If I have faith and trust in it, absolutely. Healing begins right here and right now in any way that you need it to begin. Picture it, see it, feel it, recognize it, understand it, let it go. With great thanksgiving, I release it into the law of mind, knowing that it's already done. Please join me by saying, and so it is.
So it is.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh man, we got Sue and Ron. We got Daisy in life. We got Peggy. We got Martha Morris. We got Bobby and Marion and Jeffrey and Jorge and Joy and Jack are on. Woohoo! Good to see you guys. We got Wendy Scrupa, Tom Grawl. So good to see you, my friend. Betsy's on. Mandy Dorst. I know her. My beautiful daughter, Mandy. Mary Hercules. Shannon. Charlie. Wendy Herrera. Mary Eckler. Oh, Mary, I loved your songs, by the way, on Sunday. I played them several times. I just absolutely love them. So this is the way we do it. You know, we do it with love. And we can do it on Sundays at 11 with Reverend Dr. Chris Collins. And it's just amazing. You can tune in on Facebook Live. And you can also do it with Reverend Dr. Carol Bliss, and she is on Friday nights at 7. And she's by the bay, which is actually inside of her house now, just like this one is.
And thank everyone for sharing it.
Yes, thank you guys for sharing.
And donating.
When she says sharing, she means if you feel like you really want to send this out to other people, please do it. I mean, the bigger the reach, the better. And if you feel like you'd like to donate as well, you know, to keep this consciousness alive, because the Sanctuary for Spiritual Living is a place for good. It's where good ideas are born. It's where good values are practiced, and it's where good community just comes together at all times. And so, yeah, feel free, please, to go to somchurch.org and donate as well. And for this service, you can put in open at the top. That'd be great. So, yeah, all that's happening. All this has happened, and know that I love you. Namaste.